Today on the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast, we've got stories about Trump over the weekend with Meet the Press. Boy, was he excellent. We've got Syria is in major trouble, and Daniel Penny is, he's in a kangaroo court. We're going to talk about that, and it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. We are running a little bit late here behind, had some technical issues. We appreciate you sticking in there with us. If you're watching us on Team DML, or if you're watching us on X, wherever it is that you're watching us, we appreciate you being with us here today. I've got Dennis sitting across from me. He's my oldest son, and of course, I got Ryan on the controls. He's my youngest son. We come to you here every single day, proud to have the opportunity to have the freedom of speech. And I can tell you that before Trump had won the election, we were actually talking about maybe shutting down come January. We just didn't see whether or not there would be anything worth it. To be quite honest, Kamala Harris was going to ruin everything. She was going to take your First Amendment, then she was going to try to take your Second Amendment, and she was basically going to sell this country out. Amazing what one election could do. Donald J. Trump is on a mission. And I got to tell you something. I love Yellowstone. I just love the weekly series Yellowstone, and I'm so disappointed it's coming to an end next week. And it's like on Thursday, I'll say to my wife, Yellowstone's on this Sunday. Oh, I'm so good. We got nothing planned, right? Nope, nothing planned. Okay, fine. And then it's like a couple hours before Yellowstone starts. Then it's like, hey, what do we got? Do we got popcorn? What do we got? I get excited for it. The only thing I get more excited for on television is to watch Trump beat the living crap out of these liberal mainstream media hosts. He has absolutely learned his lesson. He holds nothing back. He goes right at them. He does it like a gentleman. He does it in such a way that it's sort of just, you can't deny what he's saying. And he leaves these people flat-footed. And, in order to make an omelet, you have to break some eggs. And we went from thinking, are we even going to be in business to January, to now I just did a deal with X to where we're literally spending thousands of dollars each month to try to build our presence on there. And it's amazing how that changed so quickly because a real president is going to be in office. A person who would never even think about taking your First Amendment, somebody who doesn't want to take your Second Amendment, but also encourage you to go out and buy yourself a firearm so you can protect your family. This is a man who wants to drill, baby, drill. This is a man who wants to fight, fight, fight. And so when there's an interview with him on Meet the Press, for me, it's like watching Yellowstone. I can't wait to sit down and hear what's coming next. And I can tell you that Trump didn't disappoint on Meet the Press. If you are somebody who voted for Trump, I got to believe that you feel like a kid on Christmas. Like your gift is coming. You know what it is. You actually told mom and dad, here's what I would like for Christmas. There's really only mom and dad who delivers the gifts, right? But you still know what it is. You know what you're going to get when you unwrap it. But just the fun of unwrapping it, it's just, I don't know, there's something about it. So everything that we're going to play about Trump right now, the clips that we have for you, it's nothing new, but it's just so much fun and so encouraging and so uplifting to hear him say it with such conviction. And it's just, I don't know. It's just, he's got, at 78 years old, I've never met a 78-year-old with so much energy and so much mojo. I mean, this guy, I don't know. When I look at him, I don't look at a 78-year-old man. I feel like I'm still looking at him 40, like he's 40 years old. And I think he's as sharp, if not it's sharper than he ever was. Because there was a lot of Trump in his first 4 years where I really believed he was winging it. Even when he was doing his speeches and his rallies leading into 2016, he didn't really know a lot of the policies. He used to say stuff all the time, and I used to sit there and scratch my head and say, my goodness, is anybody preparing him? Now he understands. Now he talks like a man who experienced 4 years in the White House and then experienced 4 years of being subjected to the worst of America. He has seen the best, he has seen the worst, and he has survived it all. And now we're going to benefit from it all. I was saying to my wife before I came in to the podcast today, I said, today's meeting, because we have a meeting every day, my sons, myself, my daughter Ashley, sometimes Mary in it as well. We have a meeting every day in December about what our January and 2025 will look like. And there's some changes we're going to be making in our business. And they're changes for the positive. And if you listen to the show, or if you're a Team DML member, you're really going to like what we're doing. And I think I said to my wife, I said, there is a certain amount of excitement that I haven't had in a long time, and I got to attribute it to Trump. I feel like there's opportunity again. For the last 4 years, I felt as an American, as a business owner, as a father, as a husband, as a citizen, I felt like I was treading water, trying to keep my head up, trying not to go under and drown. Now, I feel like somebody has come and not only thrown me a life jacket, but then gave me a wave runner, and I'm ready to take on the waves. I want to go as fast as I possibly can. Trump sat down with one of the most despicable reporters in news, if you want to even call her a reporter, Miss Welker. I can't stand her. Personally, I think she has that job because she's a female and the color of her skin. I truly believe it. She has absolutely no place being on television. She is biased, she is evil, she is nasty, and she doesn't know how to hold a good interview, for what it's worth. First thing we're going to play right now is, I believe, 3 minutes long. It's the longest clip we have, but it is so damn worth it. There are so many different things in this clip. I'm not even going to sit here and try to introduce it to you. I'm just going to let the video speak for itself. Ryan, play that first video.
Let me ask you about some of this new reporting. NBC News is reporting that President Biden is considering giving preemptive pardons to the likes of Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, and Anthony Fauci. If President Biden doesn't issue those pardons, do you think they are going to wish that he had? Are they going to be pursued?
I can tell you this about Cheney, and she's a so-called Republican. I think she hurt the Democrats terribly. When I saw that Kamala put Cheney out on the campaign trail, I said, that's the end of Kamala. I really did. I thought it was a terrible move, especially if you're a Democrat. But Cheney did something that's inexcusable, along with Thompson and the people on the Unselect Committee of political thugs and, creeps. So the Unselect Committee went through a year and a half of testimony. Wait. They deleted and destroyed all evidence of that they found. You know why? Because Nancy Pelosi was guilty. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops. You wouldn't have had a J6 because other people were guilty. The people that said that I attacked 2 Secret Service agents in a car. I grabbed one around the neck. I was then rebuffed, and I grabbed the other one. These are 2 of the toughest men anywhere on the planet. They happen to be slightly younger than me, maybe, just a little bit. Let me just tell you. They testified. They said it was total. And all of this stuff came out. People lied so badly. Now, listen, this was a committee, a big deal. They lied. And what did they do? They deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half worth of testimony. Do you know that I think those people committed a major crime.
Sir?
And Cheney was behind it.
Well,
and so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee. For what they did, honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think
I think everybody anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
When you say that, it carries weight, though. You've tapped these people to lead the Justice Department and FBI.
They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
Biden can give him a pardon if he wants to, and maybe he should. Just remember, unselect committee, a year and a half of sworn testimony, and after getting all of the testimony, they deleted it, and they destroyed almost everything. There's nothing left. It's unprecedented.
And they deny
If you
doing
do that in a civil case, you go to jail.
You know they deny doing that. And officials say that the order never came in for the National
put out
Guard.
a statement.
On January 6th, let me ask you this about January 6th. I think
Benny
you're going to want to
Thompson
answer
wrote
this.
in a statement that he has destroyed all evidence.
Let me ask you this about
It's
January
amazing.
6th.
I wish you could be you have such potential. If you could be just non-biased, you hurt yourself so badly. I'm telling you, they deleted and destroyed all the evidence. Everyone knows it. And you slough it off like it doesn't mean anything.
No, I'm
If
just
I
saying
did
they
it,
deny it. That's all I'm saying.
Kristen, if I did it, you would be standing up in that chair shouting at me. And you know what I'd do? I'd say, you got me. They have done something so illegal. They have a committee sworn to, and because it was so bad, the only reason they did it is because the testimony turned out to be in favor of me. Like Secret Service testified and disputed everything. It made them into a bunch of liars. Not Secret Service, it made the people. They got rid of it because it made Nancy Pelosi, the mayor of D.C., so many people look like criminals. And I will tell you, it's illegal for them to delete and to destroy that evidence.
Well, I got to tell you, there's two things that we need to speak about here, Dennis. There's the concept of, does Liz Cheney and do the people of the select committee actually have crimes against them that can be prosecuted against? And the reason why that conversation came up is because the rumor is that Joe Biden will potentially give them all a pardon, which is kind of unprecedented in itself because he's giving them a pardon for a crime that hasn't been set yet. Nobody has been arrested or convicted of a crime. And so you're going to give somebody a blanket. Joe Biden, can he just now write a pardon that says, I'm going to pardon every elected Democrat for the last 4 years? I mean, this is getting out of control.
But is that how it actually works? Like, can he issue a sweeping pardon if someone wasn't convicted of something? I mean,
there's not even an arrest.
Right,
I mean,
that's
yeah.
the
So
thing.
that's what I'm saying.
it kind of makes you do that eyebrow raise of like, why would you need a pardon if there's no crime here, or so you say?
I think it would be. I'm not a lawyer, and we'd have to talk to a constitutional lawyer, and I think you'll probably see a lot of that trending today on social media. There's going to have to be somebody like Jonathan Turley or somebody else who's a constitutional lawyer will have to take a look at that and say he doesn't have the right to do it. He won't be able to do it. But the bigger question here is, let's say, for instance, that he can't do it, and Trump and his team can go after these people. I believe, and I know this is going to sound like I'm just being, a MAGA supporter, and I'm looking with my blinders on, but it's really not. Trump's not going to last forever, all right? We know that he's got 4 years, and then it ends. There can't be a fifth. And my concern, it's the same concern I have every time that somebody says you should kill the filibuster. If you kill the filibuster because it behooves you when you're in office, when you're not in office, it's going to kick your ass. So you really got to be a bigger person and think this one far out. Is it smart for us to go after these committee members? If we go after these committee members, does the next thing in line, or does the next thought become for somebody who's in Congress, oh, I don't want to be on a committee because now all of a sudden I could go to jail? It's the same thing as Daniel Penny, who we will talk about in a couple of seconds, the person who is, on trial right now because he tried to save lives on a New York City subway. I mean, I watched Daniel Penny and what they're doing to him. And I say, as a white man, if I were on a subway and I saw a black guy or a person of color doing what it is that guy did and was going to potentially hurt a lot of people of color on the train, I'm not doing a damn thing. Why am I going to risk my life for people who are only going to wind up going after me? So the question becomes, if we go after Cheney, if we go after the people on that committee, and we could absolutely prove that they destroyed evidence, yeah, we got to go after him because it sets the precedent that if you're going to be on a committee, you better do things the right way. So I'm all in favor for it for as long as we have a solid case that cannot be debunked at all.
I agree, because I think the big thing with his administration this second time around is the theme of accountability. I mean, the fact that they're making the Department of Government Efficiency a thing, even with a deadline date in place as a way of saying, like, hey, this isn't supposed to be some bloated extra government department that's going to like waste taxpayer dollars and not get anything done. We got to really clean up the act here. And you're going to have people go at it as, oh, he's just doing a political witch hunt against Liz Cheney now. That's not really the case. I think what happens here is to establish a ongoing precedent forward after Trump that if you're put on these committees, your job is to get things done effectively and efficiently and honestly. If you can't do that, then don't go on the committee. Or if you can't do that, be prepared for legal consequences, which is if you destroyed or tampered evidence that would have dictated how the course of even this campaign would have went, there needs to be accountability. Liz Cheney can't just go off doing these actions and calling Trump, Hitler, and not face any kind of political or legal pushback.
Well, the one thing that I will say about your statement there, one thing I don't agree with is that she can call him Hitler. She could call him an effing Hitler because that protects our First Amendment right. And look, I'm not a big Alex Jones fan in the sense that his shtick doesn't work with me. Although I have an incredible amount of respect for how much that guy actually predicts things right. But the fact that they stripped him of his ability to speak freely, the fact that they want to bill him $1 billion because he spoke his opinion, that's troublesome to me. And when you do that, you take somebody like me who wasn't necessarily an Alex Jones supporter or fan. Now you make me somebody at least who's a supporter, because whether I agree with what he said or not, and I mean, I used to think what he used to say about what happened at that school shooting was despicable. And I said to myself, man, he's doing this just for the sake of selling. And I didn't agree with it. It was my opinion at the time. Now I'm 100% behind him being able to say that, even though I think it's totally ridiculous. It's his right, his ability to say it. He didn't scream, "There's fire in the theater." He was giving his opinion, and they didn't like what he had to say. They just wanted to shut him up, and that's what you do. You strip a man of everything he has, all of his assets and his money. That's so wrong. He didn't make $1 billion on Sandy Hook. He made he made money as a person who's been in a business for 20 years, and they tried to destroy him on it. What they've done to Trump for the past 4 years, the past 8 years, if you think about it, one hoax after the next, one kangaroo court after the next, and they never took him down. And I think the reason why they never got away with it is because honesty always has the prevailing right. It is always going to rise to the top. And although I don't think Trump is by any means a perfect person, I don't think he's done anything other than try to make America great again. And that's his greatest crime. And so if I were in the spot here of being the judge and jury on what Trump should and should not do, I think he should go after them 100% if he's got enough evidence that says they did it. And I think if he goes after them and if they are punished, I don't think we ever see this happen again for a very long time in American history.
I hope so too. And you're right. I mean, she, I was thinking of Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney. She has every right to call Trump Hitler. And from now until Trump's last day in office, there will be many of times where Democrats will, hurl that term and that insult. I think it's more of the tiring aspect of Democrats trying to manipulate and framework him into looking like a dictator when he has been far from it, and we saw it for 4 years already. So this tiresome act of let's tamper and destroy evidence so it makes him look bad and it makes him look guilty. It's just a clear abuse of power, and I think they know. I think after Election Day, there was definitely a little bit of a turn, so to say, in D.C. and elsewhere with how things are going to get done. Even this interview, to your point, Kristen Welker, and Trump calls it out in that video. She in that interview, she has the opportunity to give a very unbiased, fair chance approach with Trump, in this 2.0 era, and she's still trying to do the little entrapments. And I'm glad he's calling her out. I'm glad Trump is no longer going to kind of go hands off with that approach of like, oh, if they're going to manipulate, might as well just deal with it. No, call them out, because at this point in this stage, besides their ratings being awful, their tactics are awful. And it just, if it wasn't Trump, I would turn it off. You know what I mean? It's not becoming of a person for an interview.
What do you think about how he responded to Welker when she showed her biases? And he said to her, it's unbelievable. If you could just try to be unbiased, if you could just, and like he said, I don't believe what he said. He said, you have such opportunity, you have such talent. I don't think she has any talent. That's why it always looks like that with her, where she can't go away from her hatred. But I like the idea that he is, what he used to do is he'd stand up on stage and point to the lying media, all you lying media in the back. Now he's actually going across from them and like a gentleman saying it. He's not yelling at them. He's not calling them names. He's not saying, you effing asshole. He's not. He's saying, you know what's wrong with you? He's calling them out right then and there. I love that approach.
He needs to, because all those interviews, besides the big podcast ones that he's done, the little cable hits, they're all designed to make him look bad. That's their purposeful intent with the editing. 60 Minutes, right? He wouldn't go back on because of the way they edited it the first time. And he calls it out. If it's Joe Biden, it's what's your favorite ice cream? If it's Trump, it's like, are you guilty of doing this?
Yeah.
So if his approach, because we always joked, like, why is he even wasting his time? Go on a Rogan instead where he won't edit it. But now, if his approach is, okay, if they ask a stupid question, expect stupid results and be prepared to be embarrassed in front of camera, then go for it. Call her out and say, you really could have potential. Because I know what you're saying. She really doesn't. But when you get that on camera, like, you really could be the best, but you're not. I mean, she probably felt it deep inside, like, ooh, I really am just a stooge for my network.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you remember this or not, but when you were kids, I know Ryan and Ashley, I don't know if I ever said this to you or not. I probably did, but I know Ryan one time and Ashley said it to me. Like when you were kids and you'd get in trouble and I'd yell at you for something, that's one thing. But I remember a couple of times I had said, not many times, I just said to you guys, you disappoint me. And you could just see it in the face. I remember doing it with Ryan, and Ryan was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said I disappointed you," and it hit him, And if somebody says to me, I mean, if you were to say to me, "Dad, you disappoint me," I'd be like, "Whoa," So he's saying that right to them, right to their face. I think it's very effective.
It goes to the overall point how we were just saying about government accountability. We really got to get to media accountability, right? Because
big time.
You got someone like Kristen Welker, and there's plenty like her. And let's be honest, if you're really an honest, truthful person, you can't be in the mainstream media. Look at you, right?
Mm-hmm.
They wanted you to bury a story. You said no. They took you off the air. I'm sure with Tucker, there was probably some stories where he's like, I want to touch that. They tell him no. All of a sudden, Tucker dropped out this weekend. Remember when he literally quit? We were all like taking I think I remember telling you, and you're like, there's no way. And you're like checking, you're like, oh my God, he's really out of Fox. And that's the case. It's just, if you really want to be the Walter Cronkite, like someone who's not going to be tampered with, you just can't do it. So the media really has to make a pivot point. Either they got to change their act because Trump's coming to office and it's going to be either 4 years of him plus 8 with whoever, or, maybe even longer than that. But if they don't get on board, they're just going to keep losing viewership, and you're going to have interviews like that where Kristen Welker looks like an idiot.
Just to pull off Trump for a second and what you were just saying there, this is, it's a very weird time right now in life. There's a part of this life and society that I really hate. I'm a traditionalist. I love that white picket fence. I love seeing kids playing hockey in the street. I love the idea of kids riding their bike from one house to the next instead of using a cell phone to text. At the same time, there's an opportunity facing all of us in such a way that we never had the opportunity before, especially when you talk about media. And if you think about it, the mainstream media is dying a very, very quick death. And I'll give you a prime example. Let's pretend that there's no bias whatsoever. It's going to be completely fair. And you've got an opportunity. The most watched news show on broadcast television is 60 Minutes. The most watched cable news television is The Five on Fox. I'm going to give you a choice. You have a chance to sell yourself. You have a chance to sell your message. We'll put you on the A block, which is the first and longest on 60 Minutes. We'll put you on the A block of the Five. Or I'll put you on Joe Rogan. Which one do you take?
Rogan.
You don't even pause.
No.
No. If I said to you 60 Minutes or Fox News, would you think about it for a second?
I think about it, but Rogan, there's no question. I mean, freaking Kamala Harris said no to going on Rogan, and we're at a place in time where the expectation is the vice president better get in that studio, rather than the podcaster better get to the vice president.
So think about that.
Yeah.
So the reason why I set you up with that question is because everybody at this point would rather take Joe Rogan. Now, I could take 15 or 20 other podcast names. Most people wouldn't even know about them, but 15 or 20 other podcast names that nobody has his reach. I mean, his reach is like kind of strange how big it is. But you can go down a bunch of different people who have millions of listeners every single day that exceed the numbers that we see on television, or don't exceed the time in television, meaning you may get 7 million people watching 60 Minutes and you may get 1 million people listening to a podcast. I'd still take the podcast because it's unedited, it's unfiltered, it's not 7 minutes, 5 minutes, or 3 minutes condensed. You're on there for an hour. It is the new medium. It is the new opportunity for people to get information. And I think what you're going to see, and this is really getting off topic, but something that we've been talking about, usually things seem to follow. So what we're seeing is stage one was the major dynamic, the change from buying gifts and goods and things that you need from the retail store to buying it online. And now that becomes the norm. You still have stores to go to, but that's why Amazon is one of the biggest companies in the world. Now go to the second stage. You used to only be able to get your news if you were listening to broadcast television, and then if you were lucky enough to be able to pay for cable, and now you're going to get it completely online. Nobody anymore is going to be watching those places. They'll still be around, but the big things are going to be these podcasts and things like that still are developing. There are going to be new things that we see that are going to happen in addition to podcasts that are going to be very exciting. I think the next stage of this is movies. And in the same way that conservative voices were always squashed on broadcast news, the movies and the and the storytellers, myself being one of them, on Saturday night, a friend of mine said, I've never seen your movies. How about you come on over? We'll have some ice cream and popcorn. I'd like to watch They Come to America 1. And when we were done, you know what he said to me? This was brilliant. This is brilliant. He couldn't believe that it wasn't in theaters. And I started telling him the story about how They Come to America 1 was turned down by all 32 film festivals that it got sent to, with only one being brave enough to tell me why. And they said because it was a racist film. And he said, racist? And I said, exactly. He goes, did they even watch it? I said, no. So a film like that I made, They Come to America 1, is now going to have the ability to have mass distribution because of online X. He's opening the jar. You know what's going to follow? I'm telling you right now. Netflix, Amazon Prime, Facebook, all these places that wouldn't allow our kind of content to go on there is going to realize they're missing the gravy train, and you're going to see those doors open wide open. And now all of a sudden, the ability to get out films, whether they're, fantasy films, narrative films, or real documentaries, people are going to have access to information like never before. I think the combination of all of this with Trump presidency is going to take the pendulum and move it way to the right. I think you're going to see this country go heavy to the right over the next 4 years. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't have 65% of this country saying that they identify right of center.
I think naturally that could happen simply because kind of how you just laid out. We always talk about how the newer generations have short attention spans, and yet they can't get through 10 seconds after a video. But then conversely, the way Trump was able to go on these podcasts, including Rogan, Lex Friedman, freaking Aiden Ross, all these guys, and show the long form, the unedited. I mean, I even think debates in a way will be a thing of the past, because a big thing the cable networks have always thrived on is the limitations of, how you describe it, the A and the B and the C block. They will always be a 10-minute segment, a 5-minute segment, that's always in that condense. If you can't get it all in, well, then you just can't get it in, and they won't hear about it. Whereas Joe Rogan, you got 3 hours to get your message in. So I think we're heading in an era where you're only getting a minute and a half long answer from a candidate on a debate stage to now, okay, if that didn't work out on the debate stage, you can go on Joe Rogan's podcast and give us 3 hours of what you were just talking about. And I think a lot of Democrats just won't be able to do that.
It's amazing you bring that up. Do you know how many times back when I was on Fox News, after I would have, it's called a hit. So let's say, for instance, I was usually either A, B, or C block. Once in a while, you get pushed off to the other half hour part, the back half hour. Do you know how many times I would get people saying to me, I'm so pissed they didn't give you more time. I'm so pissed they didn't give you more time. I mean, just last night, I was watching through some of the old clips because we were looking to make commercials for X. And I was watching these things. I'm like, man, what a great segment. What a shame that they stopped it. And then they have some stupid segment on about somebody's book that nobody gives a rat's ass about on next. And you just say, that's not what people want. And it's frustrating. Now that frustration's gone. And I think it's going to make it wide open for more people to become creators. And I think that's another thing that Elon Musk has done brilliantly. If you go to X right now, for I think it's $11 a month, you can have a blue check mark too, which puts you on even playing field with me and Trump, anybody else.
It's this whole messaging of you are the media now. He keeps tweeting that or posting that, and he's got some weight because that Axios CEO Jim Vandehee, I mean, he had like an absolute meltdown at that conference. Like, how dare he say that? Like, we are the media, we're the journalists, we do the work. Like, if you really have to get into a meltdown mode like that and try to make a convincing argument that you're the media, like, then you've lost it. Like, you don't have that title anymore.
For people who don't know, Axios is a company that was started from some of the founders of Politico, spinned off and a new thing called Axios, and it actually wound up getting sold for like $550 million to some company that has a lot of local newspapers and stuff, and it's melting. It's melting because nobody's using this stuff anymore. So, with that being said, we'll move on to the next
Just
Trump
really,
thing.
I think there really was a recent, maybe it's Nielsen, that for like my age to 40, like that demographic, I think it's like 30,000 at most for like MSNBC, CNN, like monthly. Like it is
negligible.
It is it is pathetic. These aren't cable numbers.
No, they're not. No, cable. It was so funny you say that because the big demo that everybody wants to be in is that 25 to 54 demo.
Yeah,
and that's what cable TV looks at, and then they break it down even more than that. And to your point, they just put out the report that these guys, they always used to. It used to be. They would hit 2 million, 3 million people, maybe 1.5 million people, and that you'd look at the real youngsters, the 25 to 40 part, where you break that into half, and always be a couple 100,000. It's now breaking less than 100,000 because nobody's watching that anymore. They're going to go online and get their consumption of news from online, and that's really where it's going. And it's not even going online to like websites; it's going online to X.
Yeah,
it's really what it is. Switching gears here for a second, if you listen to the show on Friday, I think you'll like it. I mean, I got a lot of text messages from friends saying, hey, I listened on Friday. I mean, our buddy Pete sent me a text message saying, hey, that was great. Dennis and I and Ryan traveled to South Florida in Boynton Beach, and we did a speech in front of 200 people, and we played old clips of my films, which you would have sworn were just filmed last week, because some things never change. And then in between the clips, we spoke about where things are today compared to where they were when I filmed this stuff. And people were just amazed by the presentation, and they just loved it. And we stuck in on immigration. And the last time I spoke to these folks was a year ago, and it was before Trump had been elected. And I said, Trump needs to stay on immigration in order to be able to win this election. If he sticks with immigration, he's going to win. And then here we are now, we're saying, hey, not only did he stick on immigration, it saved his life because he twisted his head to look at an immigration chart. But in addition to that, now here's what he has to do. And so they talked about immigration on Meet the Press. We have a very quick 7-second clip. It was actually a better conversation than this, but it's about deportation. No, this is about birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship. Go ahead.
Yep.
You
Okay.
promised to end birthright citizenship
Yeah.
on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get around the 14th Amendment with an
Well, we're going to have
executive
to get a
action?
change. We'll maybe have to go back to the people, but we have to end it. We're the only country that has it.
Through an executive action?
You know,
You're
we're
gonna
the only country that has it. Do you know, if somebody sets a foot, just a foot, 1 foot, you don't need to, on our land, congratulations, you are now a citizen of the United States of America. Yes, we're going to end that because it's ridiculous.
Through executive
Do you know,
action?
Well, if we can, through executive action. I was going to do it through executive action, but then we had to fix COVID first, to be honest with you. We have to end it.
So, two things I want to bring up. I want to bring we're going to go to what he said about birthright citizenship in a second, but I want to talk about deportation. He said the same thing because that was the big focus that we had on our.
It was like the big theme of the night
Theme was deportation, and my feeling was, as is yours, as was the audience after we explained everything, is that you hear Trump and you hear Tom Homan often talk about we're going to start with the criminals, the gang members, the rapists, the murderers. We're going to deport those people. There's nobody who fights against that. Nobody wants a gang member, Democrat or Republican, and except for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They wanted him and they let him in. But we, in our presentation, and that's why people should go back and listen to it on Friday if they haven't, and it's on X, the whole thing is there. What we were saying was that, yes, these people are problematic, but the ones who are costing you money, the ones who are changing your culture, the ones who are taking your jobs and lowering your wages are not the gang members. They're the majority of the 30, 40 million people who are here, and they need to be deported too. And I was happy to hear Trump say in that conversation with her that, listen, we're not going to separate families. We're sending you home. If mommy and daddy came here illegally and they had a baby while they were in the U.S. territory, yeah, you can say all you want for the 14th Amendment that it's a U.S. citizen. We are deporting them. We'll stick them together. We're deporting their parents. They're going home. And that's the way it really needs to be.
I agree. We keep talking about what we need to see with the 2.0 here of Trump. I think what a lot of people have learned, right? Democrats, liberals, we let everyone in. Everyone come on in. The sneaky Republican, if you got Juan, who is MS-13, and then Pablo, who is the construction worker, Juan commits the crime. Republicans say, get him out, we'll deport him, and then he's gone. But Pablo gets to go 5-6 years, maybe taking a job from someone else. But Republicans don't want to touch that because, oh, by the way, they get funds from the company that they're connected to with this illegal immigrant. But now, new wave Republican or conservatism should be, okay, the gang member is deported, but Pablo too, who's been abusing the system, he goes as well. And if he wants to come back the right way, he can be put on a list and eventually come back. And I know you explained that to the audience on Thursday night, and everyone was in agreement, right? Because it's not. It's going to be a question of what's humane and what's not. That's what a lot of the mainstream media will breach on when this happens. And it has to be a reminder of that they knowingly broke the law. And even if they have a family here, the family can join them. Or if they're, citizens, then fine, they can stay. But they have to accept that their illegal family member came over breaking the law, and they have to now pay that consequence.
To your point, Juan, although, is working doing the construction and he's not an MS-13 member, he is carrying an incredible amount of cost. And who's to say that Juan won't be somebody who committed a crime? We showed the video on Thursday night of a mother who lost her daughter. Festivio was his name, was working with her daughter. He asked, he had he had an obsession with the daughter. She said, I only want to be friends. She was a nice girl. He asked her for a ride. He needed to get to his car to pick up his kid. And she said yes. And what did he do? He forced her to pull over, put a bag over her head, slit her throat, raped her, put her into the trunk, and then went to the bar and hung out with the other people from the job, including her father, who worked for the job. Then when drinks were over, he went back to the car, opens up the trunk. She's still alive, and he stabs her 20 times to make sure she's dead, and then dumps her body out into a field. So if you were looking at Festivo before he did that crime, he was just like Juan. He was just a worker. Why do we have to deport him? Well, look what he turned out to be. We never vetted these people to come in here legally. They all need to go home. And I love that Trump is talking like that. We cannot step off the pedal. We can't let our heart start playing strings. If you're going to do the heartstrings, you're going to tug on the heartstrings. For every one you tell me about, I'm going to introduce Festivo. And every time that you show me a little girl holding a teddy bear who says, I don't want to go back to Ecuador, I'm going to show you the Festivo victim, the little girl who now is dead, and the mother who's crying. And if you're going to cry more for the illegal alien family than you are for the American, you don't deserve to be here either.
It kind of relates back to that chart I've always talked about, how the conservative versus the liberal mind thinks.
Yeah.
Conservative, it's more of the immediate, whereas the liberal always thinks of the outer, basically thinking of people that would never think about themselves. So yeah, you really do have people out there, specifically Democrats and their constituents, that will time and time again fight for the needs of migrants and illegals compared to those in this country.
Now, the other thing we spoke about was birthright citizenship on Thursday, and Trump just brought this up. So before I get into don't get too excited about this one too soon. I know you remember the stats. Going back years ago when I made my film, They Come to America, you don't have to look them up. I know you're going to remember it. Going back to They Come to America, when I made that film, the expert that we had in there from FAIR, which is a Federation of Americans for Immigration Reform, he said that there were 100,000 births at $10,000 a clip of illegal aliens going back, like I said, I think it was in 2010. Do you recall? I mean, I remember it. Do you recall what the number of births were last year and how much it was costing?
Yeah, it's closer now to 300,000.
That's right.
And I think that cost was...
It was we rounded it at 40,000.
40,000,
because now it's 30,000 for a vaginal birth.
Yes,
and 50,000 for
the
a C-section.
Yeah,
and then we said 40,000. What? It was $9 billion total. So it was insane. How much that was. Now, birthright citizenship, Trump says that, he's going to try to do an executive order. And this is Welker. Welker's not talented because it's Welker's job to understand. If she really wanted to Trump, she would have gone into that understanding about the 14th Amendment. You cannot change the 14th Amendment with an executive order. And I really wish that somebody on Trump's team would sit him down, because this is going to be a big conversation that's coming up. Sit him down and explain to him, this is not a possibility. You can't do it. I'm going to give you the exacts on what happens with the 14th. The president cannot repeal part of the Constitution by executive order, and Congress cannot repeal it by simply passing a new bill. Amending the Constitution would require a 2/3 vote in both the House and Senate, and also ratification by 3/4 of the states. The effort to erase the citizenship guarantee will never clear those hurdles. So think about that. You need 2/3 vote in the House, which is impossible because we barely even have the House, what do we have, by 1 or 2 votes at this point?
Very slim.
It's very slim until we wound up getting some of the replacements that Trump has stolen, if you will, and Matt Gaetz jumping out, right? He's stolen to have his, he's taken people like Elaine Stefanik and put her into his stuff. So we don't have that. We don't have 2/3 votes of the Senate. We don't have enough of that. And so even if we did, then you've got to get 3/4 of the states. So to change an amendment, to change the 14th Amendment, to change anything in the Constitution is literally nearly impossible.
Which is, I was just looking up at other countries that don't have any form of it. I mean, we really are one of the few in the world that has to abide by this amendment. And obviously, too, that this amendment, when it was first implemented, it was not for this purpose today.
No.
This has been abused greatly.
The 14th Amendment was originally designed to help those who were slaves. And the idea that Juanita and Juan can cross the border and, like Trump said, put 1 foot on American soil and be like, hey, you're here. And now you're going to have a baby 1 foot on the line? That baby's a U.S. citizen? Think about the Constitution. Think about this. Think about how it is that the founders just wrote. I just read to you what has to happen to change the Constitution. They wanted you to have the right to free speech. They wanted you to have the right to bear arms. They wanted it to make sure that to take that away from you, you almost needed an act of God. Do you think those same people did all those great things and said, if Juanita and Juan can outrun the Border Patrol and get 1 foot into the country, their kid deserves to be a U.S. citizen? Do you think, what do you think? They were doing hash on that day? You think they were doing some kind of opioids back then where they just had a brain fart for a day? No. The 14th Amendment was not designed so this way foreigners can drop a baby, you pay $50,000 for it, and then they're going to wind up living on your teat for the rest of your life.
And you don't see anyone adopting that policy today, do you? If anything, the Australia, China, France, Germany, India, Ireland, Japan, Netherlands, Norway. I could keep going. None of these countries have it.
No.
So why? It's clear that it's not working for us. So the fact that it's such a hurdle to get that eliminated,
so what do you do? So the only way, the real way, you want to change the 14th Amendment, here's how you do it. Secure your frickin' border and stop taking in over 1 million people legally every single year. Go back to traditional levels of 250,000, which is still too high.
Well, that's what we talked about at the speech, too, is that besides just illegal immigration, the abuse of mass migration through these parolee programs has really just absolutely hindered the state.
It's
the country.
Nuts. If we cut this out and do mass deportation, and I mean mass deportation, we won't even have to worry about the 14th Amendment. It almost becomes moot, So, Ryan, we've got another clip. This is pretty interesting. This goes into the whole DOGE thing, the DOGE, which is the Department of Government Efficiency. Why don't we play that?
You've tapped Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, to head up this Department of Government Efficiency.
Correct.
Which proposes cuts to the federal government. I think a lot of people hear that and they get concerned about Medicare and Social Security and
Not
Medicaid
going to have anything to do.
and defense spending.
We're talking
you
about
won't touch
theft,
Medicare, Social Security.
Abuse, fraud.
Okay.
No, I said to people, we're not touching Social Security, other than we might make it more efficient, but the people are going to get what they're getting.
Okay, so the entitlements
And
off the table.
we're not raising ages or any of that stuff.
Okay, off the table.
I won't do it.
So yeah, the idea that Trump is going to sit here and try to shrink the government by means of screwing the very people who voted for him is insane. He's not going to get rid of Social Security by any means. What he wants to do is he wants to take out the red tape. He wants to take out the bureaucrats. He wants to take out the wasteful spending. I'll give you a prime example of something. All right, I don't remember which movie this was in. This may have been in my We Ride to D.C. film. The U.S. government was going to change. There were like 99 forms, immigration forms online. I'm sorry, not even online. Let me start from the beginning so Ryan can cut this clip and put it on X later. To give a prime example of why we need Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to get in there and change things. Prime example, it has nothing to do with Trump wanting to get rid of Social Security. That is a lie. It has to do with efficiency and reasonable thinking. Going back many years ago, the U.S. government said that it was going to take, I think it's 99 forms. There are 99 different immigration forms that are all paper-based. You need a pen. They were going to take it and digitize it and make it all online and streamline the process. $1 billion. They outsourced the job to a tech firm outside the U.S. After 10 years, do you know how many of those 99 forms were done? One. One form, $1 billion. This isn't about killing Social Security. This is about killing the ridiculous amount of money we spend on shit that never works and never happens. That's why we need Elon Musk in there and taking care of this sort of thing.
You know, he keeps saying, too, that once he's in there, he won't even need until July 4th, 2026. He's like, a lot of this stuff can get done in like 3 months.
Who said it the other day? I don't remember who told me the other day. The CEO from NVIDIA.
I think that was Ryan.
It was Ryan? Yeah. So, Ryan, I you told me about it. I know it, and I think I'm pretty certain I heard it. The CEO of NVIDIA is the biggest AI chip maker in the world. In fact, depending on the stock market, they're usually the biggest company in the world. The CEO was working with Elon Musk. Elon Musk was buying billions of dollars of chips to do all AI stuff. And Ryan's got the deets. You want to give the details on this?
Elon Musk set up 100,000 NVIDIA H200 GPUs in 19 days. Jensen says that process normally takes 4 years.
So think about
something that takes 4 years, he did it in 19 days.
19 days.
Gosh, we should just get rid of the government and just throw Elon in there.
The CEO of NVIDIA said, hey, Elon, we're going to give you all these chips, but you should expect 4 years of making. And Elon said, okay, give it to me. 19 days later, it's done. You know, the guy he thinks differently. He just operates differently. And most of it is just baked in general common sense.
I've said it since day one. This man just wants to go to Mars, and he realizes he can't do that with Joe Biden. So, he's going to do what he needs to do to work the magic.
When in 2020, when Trump lost the election, I wrote an op-ed. And my op-ed was, the only way we'll ever have fair elections again is if one man gets involved. And that's Elon Musk. I wrote that 4 years ago. I still believe it. You remember it?
Believe it. It's true.
It is true.
Think about how much impact he had in the late stages of that campaign because he gave the official endorsement right after the shooting, but then his involvement was, I think, around September. I mean, him being in Pennsylvania, doing his jumping around. I mean, doing the $1 million giveaway, but in the legal way. Like he was very instrumental, I think, to Trump's election. Or even just adding to that, I mean, he used the Starlink satellites to like make sure that the voting process was happening efficiently too. So this is a man that really wants to see the government clean up its act.
Speaking of elections and Elon Musk, there's another clip. This is the last clip we have from the unbelievable Meet the Press interview. This is about Trump saying 2020 was stolen. Play it, Ryan.
Sir, I don't have to tell you this because you've talked about it. It comes at a time when the country is deeply divided. And now you're going to be leading this country for the next 4 years. For the sake of unifying this country, will you concede the 2020 election and turn the page on that chapter?
No. No, why would I do that? But let me just tell you, when you say the country is deeply divided, I'm not the president. Joe Biden's the president.
But you're going to be the president.
No. I'm not the president. So when you say it's deeply divided, I agree. But Biden's the president. I'm not. And he has been a divider. And you know where he divided it more than anything else, and it probably backfired on him, I think definitely, is weaponization. When he weaponized the Justice Department and he went after his political opponent, me. He went after his political opponent violently because he knew he couldn't beat him. And I think it really was a bad thing. And it really divided our country.
Sir, Democrats have control of the White House now. They didn't in 2020. If they are going around stealing elections, why
when you
didn't
say
they
Democrats
do it
have control now
of the White House?
Yeah.
So why didn't they steal this election? Since they have more power now.
because I think it was too big to rig.
So you won't.
Too big to rig.
To the people who say that you're now directing your Justice Department to investigate 2020, and they want to move on.
Very capable. I think Pam is going to be great.
Precious resources.
By the way,
is that what you want them to do?
Just so you know, I have the right to do that, but I'm not interested in that.
Oh, you're not. You're not going to do that.
I'm not interested.
Okay.
I have the absolute right. I'm the chief law enforcement officer. You do know that. I'm the president. But I'm not interested in that. You know what I'm interested in? Drilling and getting prices down and stopping people from pouring into our border that come from prisons and mental institutions.
You know, we'll end this Trump segment here and talk a little bit about Syria and BLM real quick before we end the show here. But I have always stayed true to the 2020 election was stolen. I have never bent on that. In the same way, I never wore a mask, never took the jab, and always said this COVID thing was overblown. I think two things that will come out of his presidency that need to come out of his presidency was that COVID was an absolute scam, pandemic, and that the 2020 election was indeed stolen. And I can't wait for that to happen because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have to die on their own sword. And I think Mark Zuckerberg is probably the first guy on the list. With that being said, there is, an upheaval going on in Syria right now. Assad has been overthrown.
Yeah, I think he fled to Moscow.
He did, and Putin is going to give him safe haven there. There's no doubt that Syria is going to wind up becoming ISIS 3.0. I think we're at 3.0 at this point in time. What do we know about actually what's taking place in Syria other than right now? Let me just say this. Ryan going to play the B-roll. I just played his B-roll, Ryan. One of the big things right now is Islamics have taken it over. And this particular clip that Ryan is showing right now, they're basically saying that they're going to be, I think this video is saying that Israel is going to go down. They're taking Israel. They want to take Israel out. And we also, obviously we don't speak Arabic, but that's really what they're doing. And then there's another video, Ryan, of, there you go. This is the video right now. This is the video of Christians already being persecuted in Syria because these scumbags are now taking over the streets. And you can mark my word, over the next couple of days, you're going to be hearing about how it is that Christians are just being slaughtered in the middle of the street. And it's not a good situation. This is happening under Joe Biden's watch. And I feel as if Joe Biden, between giving Hunter Biden his pardon, and now Syria basically falling and Christians going to be just murdered in the streets, ISIS going to basically come back, and Syria will wind up just being an Islamic state. I think Joe Biden is almost doing everything he possibly can to go down as the single worst president, the most hated president of all time. And that's pretty hard to do when you had Jimmy Carter, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton behind you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Assad's regime has lasted for 50 plus years. So the timing of this upheaval right before Trump gets in office is pretty crazy. And the guy who committed it, the Abu al-Julani, is freaking crazy. I don't think
Americans have died because of him.
I was going to say he is one of those radicals that you don't want to give him the microphone because he will lead the charge. And as for what that's going to mean for Syria and Israel's approximation there, because they are geographically linked, I think we could expect more contentious warring efforts between the two.
Well, the one thing is that Israel destroyed a lot of weaponry once this started happening. They're declaring victory on that sort of stuff. And I know Iran, funded a lot of this stuff, so it's gone. But at the end of the day, make no mistake, the Middle East is always going to be a powder keg. It is always going to wind up being a dysfunctional place, the most dysfunctional place in the world, because whether anybody wants to admit it or not, and Trump hasn't had to talk about this in a long time, and if this serious stuff really starts, festering, he's going to have no choice but talk about it. We have completely, forgot about how dangerous the Islamics are. In fact, after our speech on Thursday night, guy came up to me. He says, your presentation was fantastic. You may have heard this. Your presentation was phenomenal. He says, but you talked a lot about Latino and Spanish and all those other. I said, well, no, that's just the segments that we showed there. He said, I really wish you would have focused in a little bit more about the Muslims and what's happening going on with them. And I said to him, hey, man, I lived 9/11. Don't think for one second I didn't cover that.
Not to mention your later documentaries.
It's a different movie. Yeah. So. I played They Come to America 1. Yeah. Let's do another movie. But yeah, I mean, there is a major concern going on right now. And the point being is that Trump can't get in there soon enough because we need to have real men back in charge instead of the freaking Fruit Loops that he had working in the Pentagon and running the military and running every single last agency in here. We need to have real people, tough people back in these places to try to put some sort of level of normalcy around the world. Because right now, man, the thing is burning.
I think you said it correctly just there. We need the tough people, the right people, but the tough people. Because we're talking about a region of the world that not only, to your point, is always a powder keg, but each year it's like the powder keg just somehow is sparking constantly more and more and more. So do we want someone incompetent like a Biden or really not all there like a Kamala, meaning in terms of intelligence, or someone like Trump where the most exciting part of when he meets a foreign leader is like, how does he approach with a handshake? Like that one he just had with Francis Macron, that's the greeting of a world leader saying like, we're not coming to mess around. We're here to like talk business and get things in order.
And I really do believe that the world is happy. Most of the world is happy that Trump's back because I think every nation is a little bit nervous about what could really be happening without the power and control of the United States. And that 40 days can't get here soon enough. With that said, we want to close out the show with just playing a fast video here. We talked about Daniel Penny. Daniel Penny was basically, it should have been a hung jury.
Yeah.
It should have just been a mistrial, and it should have been thrown out. But you're in kangaroo court, New York City, and so now they're going to start going for the lesser account on this guy. I've been listening to different scholars say, listen, Daniel Penny is walking, and if he doesn't walk, this is going to be appealed. The judge is wrong about how he's handling this whole damn thing. We don't have enough time looking at the clock. We don't have enough time to get into the details on that. But for the sake of just calling a spade, this was done one reason and one reason only. Daniel Penny is on trial trying to save his freedom because he is white. And he tried to save black people from a black man. If this was different, if it was a black man who wound up killing a crazy white man who was threatening to kill people, this would have never have gone. What?
Breaking news. Yeah.
What is it?
Talk about timing. A Manhattan jury has cleared Daniel Penny of any criminal wrongdoing in the chokehold death of Jordan Neely on a crowded subway.
Excellent, as it should be.
Isn't that crazy? How we just started talking about it and it just breaks.
Yeah. But you know what?
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
To make it even better that what just happened, we're going to play a video right now of the BLM chapter leader. I think his name is Hawk something or another, saying that you basically are a frickin' racist if you're celebrating what Daniel Penny is basically doing, which is going free. Play the video.
Racism is still alive and kicking in America. There's no other way to view this. Everyone has looked at the case, and those among you who say that Daniel Penny is innocent have racism and bias in your heart. If you look at the facts of this case, then you understand that Daniel Penny is guilty. But today, white supremacy got another victory. Today, the KKK, the Klansmen, the evil in America got another victory. They got that top charge dismissed. America shall continue to America and shall continue to place second-class status on black people.
You know what I think when I see that? I saw a great thing. I should, I wish I had it in front of me. James Woods. the actor, just posted something this morning about the presidency of Barack Obama. And he said all the things that didn't exist until Obama came. One of them was ISIS, and the other one was BLM, right? That guy is what you call a POS. And if you don't know what a POS is, figure it out. That guy's sitting there telling you that if you think Daniel Penny, who is a hero, he's a hero, he saved lives that day, you think that man is a racist, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind.
You know, all I ever hear about with the BLM chapter leaders, not that they raise enough money to send a poor impoverished black kid to school or to help out a family or to help the victims of a family. I only ever hear that they pocketed the money, bought themselves a mansion, blew up their financials. And that's clearly why. Look at the leadership of that man, just making it yet again about race. If you're just, I don't know, a normal IQ level-headed person and you got the basis of the entire case and you looked at it, you would realize that man shouldn't have even been put in handcuffs. Because all I ever hear people say is, oh, men don't do anything anymore. They don't protect the weak. They don't protect the whatever. And look, Daniel Penny did. And what was his reward? Handcuffs. And this entire trial. And now, even though he is free and I'm happy for him, he's going to have to always deal with angered BLM people saying that he is this walking free racist that got away with murder. And it's such a BS narrative. I'm happy that with all the BS that Penny has gone through, that he's free.
Well, the great news is we get to talk about this again tomorrow.
Yes.
And we get to talk about how it is that BLM piece of you know what probably listens to Diddy music and Jay-Z music. And tomorrow we get to talk about how Jay-Z's up for rape charges, or at least he's being civilly sued for rape of a 13-year-old.
Do you think we can expect riots tonight in response to the Penny trial? No. Too tame.
No, nothing. No, not even close. It wasn't a cop and it wasn't a criminal.
Yeah.
It was a it was a criminal because how many times? Right,
Yes.
well, I mean, it was a criminal who died, but
And how convenient that Jordan's dad also wants to get in on the lawsuit, but didn't want to get involved in his son's life and turn it around.
Yeah, right, exactly. But now he's going to sue Daniel
but
Penny.
when there's money, you know.
Yeah, so Daniel Penny is being sued
Yes.
by the guy's father who he killed, if you want to say that he killed him.
Yes.
All right, that's it for us. Listen, today is the last day for the BOGO for the Miracle Me oil, both the 6.7 and the mini. We will not have another BOGO on this product until way after the inauguration. Go to dmlcbd.com/BOGO, BOGO. This is our top-selling topical product. You can't buy it anywhere else. We are the ones with the formula. We have the formula, and nobody else has it. You put it on, there's a bunch of miracles that could happen for you. So dmlcbd.com/BOGO. It's a topical. It has helped me with all my muscle pains. My wife, she started using it. Coincidence or not, eczema all of a sudden gone. She used to cut it off with a knife. Now it's gone. So many people swear by this product. dmlcbd.com/BOGO. Buy one, get one free. Ends today on the Miracle Me Body Pain Relief Oil, 6.7 ounce and mini bottle. All right, that's it for us. Thank you. We went a little long here today. Good job, Brian, with all the clips. Until tomorrow, God willing, may God bless you, your family, these United States, and Donald J. Trump.
And today's Team DML blessing goes out to Brenda McCall.
Good, and we'll put Daniel Penny on there as well.
And Daniel Penny.
All right, have a great day.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.